from the studios of Farm Journal Broadcast, this is AgDay.
Overcoming the obstacles to growing high-yielding soybeans.
One of the major goals is developing soybeans that they're more tolerant to heat stress.
The research breakthroughs happening in the lab. While this year's drought cuts into the California tomato crop,
we're just at the mercy of Mother Nature.
And it continues to slow barge traffic on the Mississippi while shipping backlogs ease in the nation's busiest ports.
More than 99% of the bankers that responded said we're either in a recession now or we're going to be in a recession. That's for their area in 2023.
And the Midwest economy teeters on the edge of recession, but what does that mean for agriculture? We'll find out right now on AgDay. Good morning and thanks for joining us for AgDay. I'm Michelle Rook. Clinton has the day off. Some leading financial indicators are continuing to show concerns about the recession. Yields on 10-year U.S. government notes hit the highest level since 2007. Yields for the 2-year and 30-year also hit levels not seen in more than a decade. This comes as the Creighton University Real Main Street Index shows that ag bankers are leery of economic downturn in 2023. It fell for the 6th time in the past 7 months and is below growth neutral for the 5th consecutive month. The 10-state region's overall reading for October was 44.2 on a scale of 100. That compares to 46.3 in September. This indicates the rural mainstream economy is now experiencing a downturn in economic activity. Almost 1 in 4 bankers, or 23%, say the economy is in a recession, while 3 of 4 expect a recession to begin in 2023.
One is just a global economic slowdown, which is being telegraphed back to the region, and also higher interest rates, and higher interest rates tend to raise the value of the dollar, which makes it our agricultural sector less competitive abroad. And we're also seeing, of course, the housing sector is really taking it on the chin.
However, the farmland price index dropped just 3 points to 58, and farm equity is forecast to see a 3.4% boost from 2021 levels. Meanwhile, the farm safety net election process is underway. Producers can now change their election and enroll in the agricultural risk coverage and price loss coverage programs for the 2023 crop year. Election changes for 23 are optional, but producers must enroll through a signed contract each year. They must also sign a new contract if they have a multi-year contract and make an election change. If producers don't submit their election by the March 15th deadline, it remains the same as 2022. Sign-up runs through March 15th of 2023. Now, USDA has also started issuing more than $255 million in payments to producers with 2021 crop losses through ARC or PLC. Farm state lawmakers are urging EPA to set the highest ethanol mandate ever. In a letter to Administrator Michael Regan, they say the coming regulatory reset of the renewable fuel standard should push the corn ethanol target above 15 billion gallons. USDA's October cattle on feed report released Friday afternoon came in right in line with expectations, showing all cattle on feed down 1% from a year ago. Placements were down 4%, with a strong month of marketings up 4%.
AgDay weather, brought to you by AGI Nico. AGI Nico dryers have an average of 1 to 2 pounds heavier test weight per bushel than screen dryers. They can also save you 30% on average in fuel savings. That's money in your pocket. Visit aggrowth.com/Nico for more information.
Good news on the shipping snarls at the nation's ports. At the ports of LA and Long Beach, the backlog of ships waiting to unload has been reduced to just 4 vessels. Back in January, it peaked at 109. There will continue to be bottlenecks in the supply chain through the end of the year, but progress is being made. It looks like a pretty active week for weather, with cooler temperatures and some precip in the mix, with a shift in the jet stream. Meteorologist Matt Yaroslavic joins us with an update.
Yeah, that's right, Michelle. We have a big pattern shift for the west, some cooler air moving in, mountain snow, some rain in the Pacific Northwest, and even through the middle part of the country. And if you take a look at our jet stream, you can see that big dip moving right on through the middle of the country. A storm system will be riding along that, and that is going to create some unsettled weather. And then behind it, another storm system will be moving through the second half of the week, right through the middle part of the country, hopefully giving some rain to some of those drought-stricken areas. You can see from parts of the southeast, back into the mid-south, and even parts of Texas and Oklahoma dealing with some of that rain. It'll be drier in the southwest, but much above normal precipitation. We're talking rain and mountain snow in the northwest, and all that starting on Monday. Storm system moves in over the weekend and gives us some of that rain and snow. We've got more coming throughout the week. The first system right across the Central Plains and heading towards the east, with some snow up into Canada and across the Dakotas, and then some mountain snow following that with some colder air on the backside. Again, that's the first system here, which is going to be moving through towards the east. Another one will follow for the second half of the week. And harvesting and planting can be pretty exciting. Just ask Weston Jacobson, his grandpa Keith of Wisconsin, sharing this picture. Makes you feel like laying down and taking a nap. I'll have more on your forecast coming up.
California's water crisis is causing problems for tomato farmers in the state. As Stephanie Ellum reports, inflation is also hurting their bottom line.
We pick it at the peak of freshness.
For 25 years,
It's a great product. There's a sense of home to it.
Aaron Barcelos has grown tomatoes in California's Central Valley.
This year was a below average year for us.
But between the crushing 3-year drought and the rising cost of growing tomatoes,
We're just at the mercy of Mother Nature.
farmers like Barcelos are feeling the squeeze as their margins get sliced and diced.
We had a little over 500 acres. We fallowed over 2,000 acres of ground that would normally go to tomatoes. We just did not have the water to go ahead and grow. And during the drought, our water triples and quadruples in price as well.
But it's not just water. Due to inflation, farmers are also paying more for fuel and fertilizers. Those added costs then reflected in consumer products.
There aren't any farmers making any money on tomatoes in California this year.
95% of the processed tomato products consumed in the United States come right here from California's Central Valley.
As California's tomato growers are at the end of their harvesting season, there just hasn't been enough tons of tomatoes to harvest this year versus last year, which means there's less to go around, which means prices will go up, something that consumers will feel when they go to the grocery store.
The California Tomato Growers Association said its members produced about 14% less this year than originally intended.
What makes this different is this is about our 4th year in a row of having a shorter crop than what we wanted. Ultimately, it does come down to water.
Barcelos says tomato crop yields across the state have steadily declined over the last decade.
A lot of that is due to the climate change.
As for his family's operation, tomatoes may soon be out of the mix.
Unless tomato prices in the field get to a level where we think we have a chance of making money, we're going to go do something else with those open acres.
A reversal in outside markets helped pull the commodities sector mostly back in the green on Friday. We'll have a recap and take a look at the market week ahead coming up. And later, high heat and drought make for tough growing conditions for farmers, how researchers at Iowa State are working on heat-tolerant soybeans in the country. Joining us with this morning's market analysis, Alan Brugler with Brugler Marketing. So we ended the week mostly higher, with a few exceptions in the grains, but certainly it had to do with the big turn in the outside markets and the lower dollar, didn't it?
Yeah, the dollar spiked higher on the Thursday night, Friday morning. It got to the highest level since September 28th, but then it faded off pretty good at the end of the week. And a lot of that was probably just profit taking. But the weaker dollar, of course, encourages thinking about more exports. And the strong dollar has really been a problem for us on exports relative to Brazil and relative to what Japan and some of the other customers can pay. So, a weaker dollar helped us, and the stock market was feeling pretty good about itself on Friday as well.
But no, I guess, indication the Fed's pivoting or anything yet.
No, I think the market's getting used to the idea the Fed's got another rate hike or two that it's got to do. The guessing game is all about when will they end it, whether they'll achieve their objective of slowing down employment, or if they'll just kind of reach that sweet spot next spring sometime.
Yeah. So as we look towards the new week, harvest pressure should be starting to come off, but we're really focused here more on exports now in these grains, aren't we?
Yeah, once we get comfortable with the production, then the transition tends to be first to exports, then to South American weather, because that's the next export competitor. And relative to the weather, you've got some dryness concerns in Argentina. Brazil seems to be in a little better shape, and they're the bigger player there.
We've been range bound in all these grains. What's it going to take to get us out of those ranges, you think?
Some kind of macro shock. Some traders are nervous about the Ukrainian export deal, which expires in November, whether there'll be an accommodation made with Putin to keep that open or not. And that could be a shock because we know what happened the last time. But other than that, it's probably, does China step up their buying? They're pretty light on purchases from us right now.
All right, hopefully we'll see some more soybean business like we did this last week. Thanks so much for joining us, Alan Brugler with Brugler Marketing. We have more Ag Day coming up.
To talk to Alan about his ag market professional services, call Brugler Marketing and Management at 402-697-3623 or visit his website, www.bruglermarketing.com. Ag Day is brought to you by MetLife Investment Management's Agricultural Finance Group. MetLife Investment Management is positioned to help you grow your business with a competitive farm, ranch, and agribusiness loan. To learn more, visit investments.metlife.com/agriculture.
Meteorologist Matt Yarosavik is in with our national forecast, and the drought monitor out showing a little bit of change, but at least we have some improvements on the way with the weather.
Yeah, it looks like this pattern shift heading through this week is going to give us more moisture and some cooler temperatures, and hopefully that should help those drought conditions a little bit. And if you take a look at our drought monitor, you can see that we've had some of those abnormally dry conditions, even moderate drought, starting to expand into the mid-south, into the Great Lakes and the southeast. That's been where things have been the driest over the last week or two. Still dealing with extreme to exceptional drought here in the middle of the country and back in parts of the west. The Northwest going to get a lot of help from these drought conditions, parts of the Rockies as well, even down into Colorado, maybe even northern New Mexico. And then more rain looks to be coming for the Mississippi River Valley, and they need it with the way that the Mississippi has been slowly hitting those record low levels. And this is why we've got a big ridge in the east. We've got a big trough coming through the middle of the country. Out ahead of this, another system's going to be moving on through, and as it does, that moves up to the north. We've got some cooler air coming in from the backside, and there we go again. We're bringing another system on through. So a very unsettled pattern heading through this week. Cooler in the northern plains, back over the Rockies and in the west, and it's going to be much warmer in the east, still with a couple chances of rain though heading through this week. Take a look at the precipitation right through the middle part of the country, right where we need it the most. It looks like we're going to get at least some, and then heading through the end of the week, another system moving in the west, which will again follow that same path. That's going to bring some even more rainfall towards the middle of the country and off to the east as we head towards the end of the week. And that's why we've got that above normal precipitation here for parts of the southeast, the Ohio Valley, the mid-south, and parts of the Gulf Coast, and then much above normal back in the west. And the temperatures this week, below normal behind these systems, cooler air filtering in, kind of the opposite here as last week. We've got above normal temperatures in the east. And then if we look ahead towards next week, still dealing with more precipitation in the west and along the east coast, and drier in the middle of the country, and temperatures kind of the opposite. Still cooler in the west, a little bit farther through the middle of the country, still looking at above normal temperatures as we head through the end of October. And we'll continue to track that right here on Ag Day. That's a look around the country. Now let's take a look at the weather where you live. Hugo, Oklahoma, showers and thunderstorms, a high of 74 degrees. Heading to Minot, North Dakota, rain and snow likely, a high of 37 with temperatures dropping. And Silver City, New Mexico, a chance for showers, a high of 56.
Besides cool farm gear, many farmers love the vintage stuff too. Machine Repeat has an update coming up. And battling back against drought and heat, see the latest work being done in the lab that could help farmers in the future. Do you love vintage vehicles? Yep, Machine Repeat has information about prices on those too.
Well folks, I hope you had the opportunity to catch a couple of our recent Machine Repeat TV show episodes where we dropped in on a collector car auction in Carthage, Illinois. It was great fun to watch those vintage muscle cars sell. And it's interesting, people don't associate Machine Repeat with auction pricing on pickups and cars, but actually if you go to our website, machinerepeat.com, we've got over 63,000 auction prices on pickups, over 14,000 prices on cars. And I tell you, I've seen some really interesting items sold lately at auction. On an October 15th sale in Staples, Minnesota, this 2001 Ford F-250 with 61,143 one-owner miles on it sold for $40,000. And folks, that's the second highest auction price I've ever seen on a Ford 2001 model pickup, so pretty cool there. That same day, October 15th, down in Russellville, Kentucky, on an estate sale, this very yellow 2016 GMC Sierra 2500 with only 6,872 miles on it sold for $44,000. So if you love the color yellow, probably a great buy there. Now 1 week before, on a sale, a collector auction, October 7th in Winona, Minnesota, this 1989 Dodge W150 sweet truck sold for $23,500, and the same sale had this 1991 Ram 150, just over 108,000 miles on it, sold for $22,000. Now, not everything is shiny collector condition. On an October 18th estate auction in Lee Center, New York, this 1995 Cadillac Eldorado, which I think probably ran one parked, maybe, sold for $250. And this mid-1980s Pontiac Fiero, yes, there's a Fiero under there somewhere, sold for $200.
High heat can be stressful on crops. We head into the lab at Iowa State to see the progress researchers are making to help farmers in the future. Next.
Farmer to Farmer, the Conservation at Work video series features real stories, real successes, real quick. See what's possible at farmers.gov/conservation.
This season, some areas of the country experience firsthand the toll heat can take on soybeans. As Farm Journal's Ty Morgan reports, researchers at Iowa State are teaming up with students to create a unique environment to ultimately breed soybeans that are more tolerant to heat stress.
10 miles west of Ames, Iowa, you'll find farm fields that are planted in robust research.
One of the major goals is developing soybeans that they're more tolerant to heat stress.
A joint project between the Department of Agronomy and the Department of Mechanical Engineering. Students and faculty have produced this.
We were getting the group to come together to build these sort of mobile units that can be placed in the field. The intention is that we want to test the response of different plants under different heat or temperatures.
It simulates the increasing temperature gradients we expect with climate change, so they can set various different conditions. Then the control system will monitor the humidity level and the temperature and exchange outside air in place of the inside air, and if necessary add heat to dry the air out.
Crops like corn are already heavily studied to determine how the plants respond to heat stress, but soybeans are still a bit of a mystery.
One of our biggest things is we want to understand how soybeans are actually reacting to those higher than optimal temperatures. What is going on with them? What can we visibly notice? And then developing tools so we can more easily identify the plants that are more susceptible versus tolerant to those heat stresses.
2022 did bring some high heat in Iowa, but that's not the case every year. So this research chamber will allow researchers to test soybean plants' response to heat in an actual field year after year.
The problem is it's not easy for us to simulate heat stress in a field in the Midwest, especially in like Iowa or the more northern Midwestern states. So we can work in growth chambers and greenhouses, but that doesn't always translate to how the plants actually perform in the field and having actual living soil.
From there, they can then uncover the genetics behind how and why the plants respond to heat stress.
Ideally, we want it to be 4 degrees Celsius warmer inside than it is outside.
With a living experiment rooted in these fields, the end game could breed soybean varieties that are heat tolerant.
We can't do it in 1 year, but hopefully in the next 5 to 10 years that there would start being benefits for farmers.
With funding from USDA, the Iowa Soybean Association, and others, the work is searching for solutions.
We work on plant-based protein crops, we work on millets, we work on a lot of different crops. We are interested to see how this type of solution can help other folks working in different crops.
Farming for the future by harvesting answers today. Work that starts with students who are putting their skills to the test.
Thanks, Ty. That's all the time we have for this morning from all of us here at AgDay. Have yourself a great day.